The year is 1971, and the parents, a family of 7, move into a house in a remote countryside area only to discover a malignant force lurking within the walls. After initially harmless incidents, things take a terrifying turn when demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren are drawn to the infamous place and uncover the sinister past of the haunted house. No one is safe, and evil is way too strong. Evil and demonic presence are ancient forces that navigate the world mysteriously. Before Ed and Lorraine Warren even meet the poor souls haunted by malevolent spirits in the parents' residence, they come across a series of events in another home in 1968. That's the Annabelle case. The story of a little girl whose life was taken too soon. 2 friends sharing an apartment feel the presence of the little girl's spirit begging for company and affection. It seems that Annabelle was drawn to that particular home because of a doll that piqued her interest. In an attempt to do some good for that little soul, the 2 young women, Debbie and Camilla, give the spirit permission to inhabit the doll, not knowing the nightmare that would follow them from that day on. Ed and Lorraine are appalled by Debbie and Camilla's actions. The Warrens know it comes with a great cost. It started with simple moves, almost unnoticed. She changed the position of a leg. On another occasion, moved her head facing a different direction, left a note that asked if the girls were missing her. The not-so-upsetting events escalated to violent bangs on the wall that wouldn't let them sleep. Debbie decides to throw the doll in the trash, so they can finally be free from it. It didn't work. The bangs on the wall get more violent, and Debbie and Camilla are surprised by the doll, Annabelle, sitting in their home. That's when they call Ed and Lorraine for help. The couple of demonologists and paranormal investigators cut right to the chase and tell them there's no such thing as a little girl called Annabelle. Whatever they invited into their home isn't a spirit, but something hateful, something inhuman with great power of manipulation, something demonic that is working its way into possessing their very souls. Drew, Warren's assistant and a clever filmmaker, turns the lights on. That's the end of Ed and Lorraine's lecture on the Annabelle case. They've just shown the evidence recorded in Debbie and Camilla's home. The young audience is curious and baffled by the story and images. Everyone is eager to ask them questions about all the awful and scary cases Ed and Lorraine must have solved. Miles away from the lecture on all things evil and demonic, the excited Perron family, parents, Carol and Roger, daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April, arrive at their new home in the countryside of Rhode Island. An old country house by a dark lake, the perfect spot to raise their 5 daughters and cute dog. A cozy and warm haven that will house the family for many years to come. At least, that's what Carol and Roger Perron hope for. Almost every member of the family is excited about the new home and the fresh start, except the oldest daughter, Andrea, and Sadie, the dog. Sadie won't come inside the house, despite Roger's efforts. He doesn't insist, and Sadie spends her first night there outside the house. The parents rush to organize the furniture and make the place really feel like their home. The cheerful Cindy hangs her wind chime on the porch. She sees the youngest girl, April, sitting by a huge tree by the lake and screams her name, telling her to get back inside. April hears her sister calling for her, but wishes she could stay outside a bit longer. She's just found the nicest music box ever. It's a carousel-shaped box with beautiful mirrors and a cute song. The kind of thing April would have loved to get as a Christmas or birthday gift. It's almost dinner time, and the Perron girls play hide and clap. Christine is blindfolded and waits for her sisters, April, Cindy, and Nancy, to clap their hands so she can find where they're hiding. Nancy hid pretty well, so well that now she can't outrun Christine. Christine finds her in the mudroom. As a competitive kid, Christine jumps over Nancy to show off her victory. But playtime ends when Christine pushes Nancy, shattering a piece of the dusty wooden wall. Roger goes to check the damage and ends up finding a cellar. A huge cellar filled with old furniture, a piano, and other trinkets that probably belonged to the last family who lived there. There's no light in there, so he uses a match to help him. The Perron couple are so thrilled with the new house that they don't even bother with the new finding. They settle down in their new bedrooms, but something keeps bugging Sadie outside. She barks and barks non-stop. Roger settles her down by a tree near the porch, so he thinks she'll be fine. The first night of the Perrons in their new home is a total success. Well, not quite, actually. Carol wakes up with a fresh bruise on her shin. The girls sharing a bedroom complain about the cold in the house, and grumpy Andrea can't stop talking about the awful smell of rotten meat she felt in her room during the night. Carol doesn't care much about the complaints, it's just the girls being the girls. But not only has the bruise on her shin puzzled her, but now she realizes that both clocks in the house stopped working at exactly 3:07. She doesn't know why. Roger works in the cellar. There are more things than they expected in this room, and everything in it is new challenge. Carol makes coffee, and April lopes outside looking for Sadie. Carol and Roger talk about the strange clocks and the strange new cellar as she makes them coffee. The bright and friendly vibe ends with April's scream. The girl is in a panic when Carol and Roger find her. Unfortunately, the first morning in the new place is going to be a sad one. Something happened to Sadie during the night, and now they'll have to bury her. The Warren family is also at home, somewhere in Connecticut. Ed starts his day by welcoming a reporter to their home and introducing to him the infamous room where he and Lorraine keep the cursed memorabilia they get from the haunted families they help. One object in particular piques the reporter's interest: Annabelle, the doll that made Debbie and Camilla's lives a living hell. Ed explains that everything in that room, including Annabelle, is kept there for safety reasons, and that a priest comes to bless the room every month to make sure that whatever negative energy holds onto these objects doesn't escape. Judy Warren sneaks into the room and interrupts the interview. Ed and Lorraine's daughter just wanted to take a peek at her dad's interview, but, as usual, he warns her to never go into that room again. Never. She looks frustrated, but understands and leaves. She plays with her mom when Ed arrives with a cup of tea for Lorraine, who looks a little bit under the weather. It's the simplest and most ordinary things in life, like bringing a cup of tea to his wife, that shows how well Ed and Lorraine know each other, and how much they care for one another. Carol and Roger are also a happy couple, with a lot on their plate. The sun is gone and it's time for bed. Christine and Nancy are exhausted and half asleep, but Christine is conscious enough to tell her sister to quit being annoying and stop pulling her foot. Nancy doesn't buy Christine's babbles. Whatever is bothering Christine doesn't seem to get near Nancy. At least, that's what looks like. When Christine tells Nancy to quit farting, the smell is awful and she needs to sleep. Nancy couldn't care less. Downstairs, Roger falls asleep on his desk after a drink or two. The TV is on, but the static doesn't take Roger out of his sleepy state. However, the bangs on the wall do. He looks around, trying to find the source of the noises. At the back of the house, a door slams with the wind. But it's not the source of the banging he hears. As he approaches the staircase, following the noise, something else startles him badly enough he almost curses. It's Andrea, standing there waiting for her dad to come upstairs to help her. She can't sleep because Cindy is sleepwalking again. This time, she's banging her head against the closet in Andrea's bedroom. Roger takes Cindy to her bedroom carefully so as not to wake her up. Finally, peace reigns in the Perrin residence. The next morning, as the girls get ready for school, Carol Perrin comes out of a hot shower, ready to give a kickstart to her day. Roger, on the other hand, seems worried when he sees a new bruise on Carol's back. She can't remember where she got that one from. Maybe she just bumped into something the other day. No big deal. Roger leaves for work, but before he gets to his car, a bird simply crashes into the side of the house and falls down lifeless. That's odd, but he moves on. April has also started her day. She plays with her toys and her new favorite music box, which has a little clown in a mirror. She shows it to Carol. The music box looks like a tiny funhouse, Carol thinks. Little April convinces her mom to play one of her favorite games, hide and clap. She blindfolds Carol and disappears. Carol gives April the first order to clap her tiny hands. She does her best to follow the sound, so she walks and walks, she bumps around and gets to Andrea's bedroom. Maybe that's where little April is hiding from mommy. Carol hears a bang on the closet this time. It's a silly game, but Carol is having fun. She doesn't have many things to do that day. Carol orders April to clap her hands one more time, after hearing the closet door opening slowly. It looks like she has found her daughter. Her clumsy hands move Andrea's clothes from side to side, but strangely, she can't find April there. The blonde little girl jump scares her mom, coming from Nancy and Christine's room. Carol knows she heard the clapping of hands coming from the closet, but whatever did it, it wasn't her daughter. The night comes along. Roger answers a call from work and learns he'll stay 1 week away in Florida. It doesn't sound like the best of offers, but he has to make the ends meet. Carol, as always, is supportive of her husband. It's bedtime now, and once again Christine sleeps profoundly until she has her foot pulled again. She tells Nancy to knock it off. She's tired and wants to sleep. Her foot is pulled again, stronger this time. Christine sits back, startled, when she sees Nancy sleeping like a baby. Christine is scared and confused. She looks under the bed, shaking like a leaf. Christine is looking under the bed and sees when the bedroom door creaks and opens slowly. She wakes Nancy up as she cries, asking her sister if she sees it too. It's right there, behind the door, in the dark. Nancy can't see anything and walks to the door to prove to Christine that there's nothing there. Christine cries and begs her sister not to do it because the thing is right behind her. The door slams violently, setting off a wave of desperate screams from Christine and Nancy. What seems to be Christine having a nightmare has Carol and Roger jump out of bed and rush into her room. Nancy is a scared teenager who has no idea how to help her sister at that moment. Seconds later, the entire family is in Christine's bedroom. She sobs, trying to explain that there was something behind the door. Roger just wants his daughter to calm down and tells her she was probably dreaming. Christine, in a state of shock, begs her mom and dad to believe her. Whatever was in her room, lurking in the dark, watching her and her sister, said to the terrified girl that it wants her family gone for good. At home, Lorraine and Judy spend some quality time in the backyard. Ed stops by to check on them. Lorraine sees him holding his jacket and asks where he's going. Ed says something about going grocery shopping, but Lorraine knows better and can tell when her husband is lying. He spills the beans about visiting Father Gordon. It looks like he has a new case of a family being haunted in their own house. If there's one person in this world that can bring Ed's guard down, that person is Lorraine, and she pokes him into accepting the fact that she is going with him on this new assignment. No matter what, Ed can't fight Lorraine's stubbornness and charm. Their visit doesn't take long. It's obvious to Lorraine and Ed that that house isn't haunted. It's just old, very old. Back in the countryside of Rhode Island, the sky is clear and the moon shines outside, but the parent house is colder than ever. The air seems heavy, too. Carol listens to the radio while tidying the bedroom. She's puzzled, asking herself how so many bruises can pop up on her body without her remembering anything. It's so weird, and it's getting worse fast. There's static coming from the radio, and she goes off to the girls' bedrooms, telling them it's way past their bedtime, they shouldn't be up. The radio stops, silence reigns, and Carol does her rounds checking on the girls. Everyone is asleep safe and sound. She hears the clock ticking. It's great that's finally working. But the calm night starts to change, like a violent wind blowing. The family photo gallery along the staircase wall is trashed and shattered to pieces, right in front of Carol. They are tossed to the ground by thin air. She faces her fear and walks around the house, looking for whoever did it. The silence is once again filled with strange things. Someone claps hands. It sounds like it's coming from the back of the house, maybe from the kitchen. She hears the cellar door creak, and the old piano playing. She carefully checks the cellar, but it seems empty. She tries to disguise her fear with an ultimatum to whoever is hiding there. She says she's locking the door and leaving. She rushes to the door, but it slams right in her face and she falls down the stairs. Fear takes hold of her, and it gets way worse when someone or something throws a ball next to her. The light bulb explodes, and she runs upstairs, trying to leave the cellar again, but the door is locked and now she can't see anything in front of her. Her only hope at this moment is the matchbox in her hands. She lights a match in an attempt to see something, someone, that explains the ridiculous situation. The scariest thing she can think of right now is that a stranger is in her house, and she's trapped with them in the cellar, in the dark, but her suspicions are far from the horrible truth. The sound of her heavy breathing fills the air. She lights another match, but still can't see a thing. She shakes and perspires. But the worst part of that evening is just beginning. Someone whispers an invitation in her ear. It asks her if she wants to play hide and clap. It claps its hands quickly, putting out the matchstick. She's alone, her daughters are sleeping, and no one can hear her. The strange manifestations don't stop with Carol locked in the cellar. Cindy sleepwalks again, and keeps bashing her head against Andrea's closet. Andrea decides to let her little sister sleep there with her. But as soon as she puts Cindy to bed, the bangs on the closet continue. Andrea opens the closet doors wide open, but finds nothing but clothes. Cindy wakes up and sees what Andrea can't see, and it's terrifying. A dreadful and disgusting creature in human shape jumps from the top of the closet and attacks Andrea viciously. The girls' screams are so loud that they meet their mom's cry halfway. Christine, Nancy, and April are all up too. Outside, coming out of his truck after an exhausting week, Roger hears his family in a complete state of panic, screaming, asking for help. He storms in, finds Carol locked in the cellar, and runs right to Andrea's bedroom. The entire family is hysterical. In Massachusetts, the Warrens give another lecture based on their investigations. They analyze a tape showing an exorcism they performed. The poor soul belonged to a certain French-Canadian man named Morris, or Frenchie, who lived in Romania, and whose life took a terrible turn after assisting a priest and a nun in investigating a tragedy that happened in the village's convent. The video ends, giving way to the questions from the audience. An audience filled with people of all ages and backgrounds, thirsty for answers and juicy details on paranormal investigations. Everyone seems to have questions to ask everyone except an old lady, who watches the lecture as if she has heard and seen these cases before. Some rows behind the lovely old lady is Carol Perrin, completely desperate for help. Carol has the chance to talk to Ed and Lorraine in the parking lot before they get to go home. She tells them there's something wrong with her house. That's terrifying the whole family, especially her 5 daughters. Ed sounds reluctant, but Lorraine makes the call and tells Carol they're going to check the house. Lorraine and Ed arrive at the parents, and it's crystal clear that something is very wrong. The living room has been turned into the family's bedroom. Mattresses and pillows are all over the place, and the 5 scared girls sit there with huge dark circles around their eyes. Roger and Carol talk about the bangs on the walls, the awful smell of rotten meat, the clock stopping, the birds crashing against the windows, and the devastating cold that never leaves the house. They visit Andrea's bedroom, but Lorraine's instinct tells her to go check the cellar. That is the first part. Ed carries out the second part of the investigation by interviewing Carol and Roger. He notices the bruises on Carol's arms. Lorraine interviews April, who tells her about her imaginary friend Rory and the music box he gave her. It doesn't take long until Lorraine sees the gray and cold spectrum of a boy from the music box mirror. Lorraine's gifts are impressive, and she's drawn outside to the dark tree by the lake and has a dreadful vision of a body, rotten, swinging. Ed follows her, understanding that she's seeing something. Lorraine's sensitivity has Ed worried, and little does he know what she sees hanging from the tree right behind him. This is a matter of saving this family, and time is of the essence. Ed and Lorraine explain to the parents that the dark force in the house is filled with hate, and it'll follow them wherever they go, unless Carol and Roger allow them to collect evidence to send to the church. For that, they'll need to move into the parents' residence. Lorraine and Ed's investigation begins at home. As the parents arrive, Judy surprises her mom with a cute necklace as a gift. She has one, too, as a matching amulet. Lorraine researches every piece of information there is on the house's history, and it isn't a pretty one. Ed's tape of Roger and Carol's interview doesn't work. Carol's voice simply doesn't appear in the audio. They know it can be an evil interference, but the interferences don't stop there. The tape plays itself, and instead of Carol's voice, there's a howl, a horrible howl, and cries of pain. The next day, Lorraine and Ed arrive at the parents with Drew and a police officer called Brad. The team set up their gear, which includes cameras, thermostats, bells, and other things. Carol and Lorraine try to make the house look like a home again by hanging the family pictures around the living room. Lorraine has a sweet feeling when she holds the picture frame of Carol and her family by the beach. That kind of gift Lorraine has would have shocked the Carol of a few days ago. It's nighttime, and everything is set to capture any paranormal manifestation. Soon, the cellar door opens, ringing a bell the team hung. Ed and Lorraine go downstairs, trying to make the first contact with the malignant force. Brad is filming, but they don't have much success this time. The morning sun comes up, and the family feels hopeful for the first time since their nightmare began. Lorraine and Ed help the parents around the house. The kids are a little happier, and the skeptical police officer, Brad, still struggles with his own beliefs. The light mood changes suddenly, bringing dark clouds and strong winds that make Lorraine apprehensive. The wind takes one of the bedsheets she hangs, covering a human shape that disappears in a split second. The bedsheet flies to Carol's bedroom window. Lorraine knows that's a bad omen. As Lorraine suspected, the dark spirit attacks Carol, possessing her quickly. The hateful demonic manifestation is Bathsheba, the spirit of the woman who cursed these lands and anyone who steps foot there. Lorraine rushes to the room, and Carol seems to be fine, but Lorraine is suspicious. She knows better. After going out with Drew and the girls to have some ice cream, Roger comes back home and spots Ed fixing his old banged-up car in the woodshed. He takes this moment to thank Ed for helping his family. The sun is down, and it's time to have all eyes and ears focused on the demon traps and cameras. Brad takes a moment to get some coffee in the kitchen, and hears some bells. He hears whispers and tries to find the source of them. He looks around and is surprised by the spirit of a pale housemaid. The spirit attacks him in the laundry room while, in the living room, the thermostat set the cameras off many times as Cindy walks upstairs. Ed tells Roger that Cindy didn't activate the cameras, but the presence driving her movements did. She locks herself in Andrea's room, but when Ed gets there, the room is empty. Time to resort to the UV lights and search for prints. The lights reveal a trail of footprints and hands all over Andrea's old closet. Inside the closet, Ed finds handprints that lead to a hidden entrance to a crawling space. Cindy is there in shock. April tells Lorraine that the crawling space behind the closet is where Rory hides when he's afraid. Time for Lorraine to go inside and check what's in that crawling space. She finds a thick rope with a suggestible knot, but before she has any chance to share the news with Ed, the floor is torn apart under her feet. She dives all the way down to the cellar and finds out what the demonic force wants. The evil forces attack Lorraine, but she escapes and exits the cellar, screaming at the top of her lungs that the demonic presence possesses the mothers so they can end their children's lives. That would explain the bruises on Carol's body, and why Roger isn't directly affected. The lights blink, picture frames shake and fall, and holy crosses are tossed around. This time, Nancy is attacked. She's saved by the grown-ups, and this time, Drew gets to film it all. As usual, the events affect Lorraine differently, strongly. She walks to the lake and has a disturbing vision of her daughter, Judy, being carried by the water, drowning. She rushes inside and calls home to check if everything is okay with Judy. Ed is desperate. Everyone leaves the house. The parents stay in a motel, while Lorraine and Ed pay Father Gordon a visit to show their findings and request an exorcism. The priest warns them it won't be an easy task, since the children aren't baptized, but he promises the Warrens that he'll try his best. At home, Judy sleeps soundly, but there are disturbing manifestations on her way. Her necklace with photos of her parents is touched by something, and so is Judy's foot. Just like Christine, she has her feet pulled and wakes up looking for her mom and dad. Nobody answers, so she goes downstairs to the room she's not supposed to go in. The door is open, and Annabelle isn't there. Judy runs to the stairs, but the lights go out. She hides in her parents' office, but is now trapped. A malignant spirit sits on the rocking chair, holding Annabelle. Ed and Lorraine are arriving at the driveway and notice strange lights in the house. They storm in and save Judy just in time before the demon hits her with the chair. Annabelle rests in her glass box. Roger and Drew arrive at the motel where Carol and the kids are, but something is terribly wrong. The girls tell their dad that Carol was acting weird, smelling like rotten meat, and that she left out of the blue with April and Christine. She's on her way home. Roger calls Ed to let him know, and soon they all go to the parents' house. Roger, Ed, Lorraine, Drew, and Brad arrive quickly at the residence and find Carol out of herself and about to attack Christine with a pair of scissors. They save Christine, who's in a panic, and Drew takes her to the car and goes back inside to find April. In the cellar, the demon throws Carol from wall to wall, hurting her. They contain her and tie her to a chair, but she needs an exorcism. Ed wants to call Father Gordon, but Lorraine knows that Carol can't hold that long. Ed has to make a decision, and fast. They cover Carol with a white sheet, and Ed takes a deep breath and splashes holy water over Carol. She howls and roars. The demon is getting stronger. Upstairs, Drew runs around looking for April, but can't find her. Suddenly, a horde of crows attacks both Drew's car, where Christine is, and the house windows, trying to get to Drew. The cellar shakes, and they hold on to Carol, who begins to spit blood. Drew hears a muffled voice. It's April, who's trapped in another crawling space hidden in the kitchen. In the cellar, The demonic entity possessing Carol does everything to terrify Roger and the Warrens as Ed begins the exorcism. The powerful evil force makes Carol levitate. It's trying to get free. Ed commands it to let go of Carol, and so it does. Carol is tossed on the ground, smashing the chair she was on. Roger gets to her, begging for the demon to let her free. The demon tells Roger that there's no way out for him and his family. Everyone is doomed. That's when a shotgun aims at them and fires itself. No one is hurt. Yet, Drew breaks the kitchen floorboards and finds April. But the possessed mom hears him too, and sprints to the kitchen to get what the demon wants. There's not much room for Ed, Lorraine, and Roger to come in and pick April up. It's a narrow space. But Ed finds a way to cast the demon out of Carol, with the help of Lorraine's sensitivity and Roger's love for his wife and child. When morning comes, the house is trashed, the kids are traumatized, but everyone is alive and will be okay, hopefully. Lorraine and Ed get home, carrying the music box used by Bathsheba as the conduit to its malignant and vile power. As long as it sits in that sealed room in the Warren house, everyone they hold dear will be safe. Hopefully.